Itu cuma paling modal potas 1,5 kilo gitu. Kalau saya itu dan teman-teman generasi saya itu saya lebih ekstrim. Sekali berangkat itu bisa bawa potas 1 kilo sampai 4 kilo, 5 kilo. Ya lama-kelamaan otomatis dari ikan atau gerombolan itu semakin berkurang, Bahkan kita sempat benar-benar pakai alat pancing jaring, itu pun hampir setiap melaut itu istilahnya min.
Proof of damage and looting of nature had made Aral Subagio and his fellow fishermen to finally stop their damaging treatment towards nature. At the time, they no longer exploit the sea for source of income.
Kita pernah menghalau orang itu bawa 1 truk, 2 pickup, 1 Avanza, 40 orang ngambil ikan hias, ngambil terumbu karang, motas, itu. Terus ada kasus lagi yaitu terumbu karang tumbuhnya 1-8 cm 1 tahun, didongkelin dijual 3.000 sampai 10.000 per bongkah. Nah, di sini pernah ada kasus yaitu 2013-2014 kasus perusakan terumbu karang baik ilegal maupun legal. Kasus pertama di Malang, kasus pertama Jawa Timur, kasus pertama di Indonesia yang masuk pengadilan dan vonis.
Effort to save Kondang Merak ecosystem has been done. Not only reboisation at a number of points, the making of special compartments for fish and coral reefs are also done. Fishing boats, environmental groups, and local villagers started to be more caring to give back the main function of nature in this South Seashore. Slowly but surely, the ocean's habitat recovers. Fish living freely, resulting fishermen's catch also increasing. Such efforts also result in the increasing number of tourists coming to this wonderful seaside, but still under supervision of fishermen group to make sure that damage to nature does not happen again.
Dari situ kita mulai merasakan dampak yang kita perbuat itu terasa banget, sangat terasa banget. Penghasilan laut minim, sampai sempat istilahnya berpikir kita mau kemana lagi. Kita berhenti dari merusak, yang pasti ya kita berhenti dari merusak dan tidak mengakibatkan hal yang fatal untuk ekosistem laut itu. Terus ditunjang dengan kita rehabilitasi terumbu karang, itu kita nanam terumbu karang. Jadi di mana spot-spot yang itu sudah rusak banget, dan di situ kita tanami.
Di depan saya ini adalah Kampung Nelayan Kondang Merak. Kita akan masuk di dalam, kira-kira di sana ada nggak sih ikan yang masih fresh? Nah, baru kita makan.
Welcome to Kondang Merak Fisherman Village. The village looks quiet this evening. Fishing boats are docked along the shore, left by their owners. Bad weather has forced a number of local fishermen to not go to sea and stay at villages nearby the sea. If some fishermen decide to stay in the village, their daily activities are mostly repairing their fishing tools and await the arrival of tourists who wish to enjoy what local dish can Kondang Merak villages offer that's popular along the South Beach area. Local fishermen under the Bina Karya Mina Fisherman Group is led by Arau Subagjo. They used to drop off their catch at nearby fish catch distributor not far from the village. Customers would come and the fish catch are quite popular on the seafood menu list. Sea has become the source of income for local villagers as tourism is their other source of income. Due to the decreasing number of fish catch because of the bad weather condition lately.
Sekarang dampaknya sudah terasa banget. Sekarang sudah pulih dari hasil tangkap kita, gurita, sekarang sudah tangkapannya maksimal, terus kakap seperti yang kemarin-kemarin ini. Bahkan saya sempat kemarin itu nangkep kakap itu satu malam bisa dapat 300 kilo sampai 350 kilo semalam. Kenapa di sini kok kulinernya itu sangat ramai sekali, sangat istilahnya booming di luar-luar Kondang Merak ini, padahal lagi Malang ya, Surabaya lagi, itu sudah wis terkenal kuliner Kondang Merak. Tamu mau kuliner itu melihat dari hasil tangkapan nelayan, itu dari sisi ikannya saja mereka sudah tertarik. Dari nilai freshnya, nilai bentuk warnanya itu sudah menarik semua, karena memang fresh, seger. Nah, mereka yang jadi unggulan menu kuliner itu fresh lobster tadi, gurita, oseng gurita, terus sate tuna, ikan bakar kakap, kerapu, tenggiri, banyak lagi mas. Tapi yang jadi unggulannya itu.
Nah, ini tuh untuk sate tunanya, teksturnya empuk dan bumbunya itu meresap.
Jadi sate tuna itu istimewanya kita kita campur itu loh mas, tomat, ada pre, biar penampilannya lebih menarik. Terus di sana mungkin dari sambelnya, kebanyakan dari sambelnya yang suka itu. Daging tuna itu karakternya empuk, enak. Kalau di sate bumbunya lebih meresap.
Nah, ini tadi adalah ikan kakap yang kita udah masak bareng sama Mbak Wiji dengan bumbu rahasia. Oke, coba ya.
Jadi resepnya turun-temurun kayak gitu. Jadi kita ambil rempah pilihan mas. Ikan sekar itu dibumbu garam saja, enak.
Rasanya enak. Di sini saya ngerasanya sih emang nggak terlalu kering gitu ya. Tapi tekstur untuk dagingnya ini empuk sekali. Ditambah di sini itu emang ikan-ikan pilihan dan fresh. Jadi kita rasanya itu masih sangat terasa, apalagi bumbu rempahnya ini dan perpaduan antara sambal, nasi dan ikannya menambah kesempurnaannya. Wah, saya mau coba yang terakhir. Oseng-oseng gurita. Nah, untuk oseng guritanya ini, ya walaupun dibilang ini adalah bumbu rahasia, tapi rempahnya bisa saya rasakan dominan dengan rasa jahenya. Ada kunyitnya, dan ini spesialnya di sini, semua olahannya tidak terasa amis. Pedasnya pun pas buat pemirsa yang nggak terlalu suka pedas, ini masih bisa dinikmati. Nah, karena hasil ikan yang diolah di depan saya ini dari nelayan langsung dan semuanya fresh, makanya ikannya itu masih terasa manis. Karena semuanya sudah saya coba, nah yang terakhir, nggak lengkap rasanya kalau udah makan seafood, ya minum es degan. Habis ini saya mau ngabisin semuanya dan sekaligus menjadi tenaga kita akan menuju ke Tanjung Sirap. Jadi untuk pemirsa, boleh langsung datang ke Kondang Merak, mencicipi langsung cita rasa seafood yang ada di sini.
A mesmerizing getaway. A holy sanctuary. A captivating culture. Sublimely sacred. Yet also excitingly profane. The ultimate paradise. A luxurious escapade. Here you have some of the hippest spots on the planet. Release your inhibitions for an adventure of a lifetime. Whether you fancy the beach or golf, just love food served exotically. Or adrenaline rushes. Enjoy oases of tranquility. Where pampering is art perfected. Mysteriously festive. Tourism with its own history. Branded hospitality. The ultimate travel destination and more. Bali. Wonderful.
There's still one thing interesting about Kondang Merak area, which is the protected forest managed by the Malang Forest Management, or KPH Malang, where there's only 1,989 hectares of land left. These steps lead to the peak of Sirap Cape, going deep into the forest, experiencing forest life in the midst of the living animals and trees at the forest. This forest area is part of the Kondang Merak ecosystem. There are 77 forest plants, 35 types of medicinal plants and rare plant species that is part of the forest protected by the law.
Bukit Sirap masih di kawasan Kondang Merak. Lihat saja, hutannya masih rimbun dan terjaga. Mungkin karena memang jarang diakses oleh manusia.
Along the way, we're so lucky to be able to see a number of wild animal species living here, like slow loris, squirrel, macaque, and wild birds. Data shows that there are 130 species of birds and 150 species of butterflies that were seen living here. Also, Javan tiger, Javan eagle, and 12 other eagle species.
Wow, cukup menantang juga perjalanan kita. Dan ini adalah pohon waru yang tumbang secara alami. Tetap hati-hati ya.
Di Malang itu hutan-hutannya banyak yang terdegradasi. Tadi tinggal hutan lindung tersisa Malang Selatan, yaitu mulai dari Kondang Merak sampai Kedung Salam Liep, sama Cakaralam Pulau Sempu. Itu terfragmentasi. Nah, di yang hutan tersisa Malang Selatan ini, di kawasan pesisir muncul banyak kasus-kasus. Pertama, ada 18 tambang pasir besi. Walaupun sekarang tinggal 1 yang masih ada izinnya. Terus ada bermunculan kebun-kebun sawit. Terus degradasi mulai kebun pisang dan lain. Terus belum ancaman tentang mungkin jalur lintas selatan, perubahan kondisi sosial masyarakatnya juga pengaruh. Jual beli satwa, tadi landak dijual 50.000 per ekor, kukang dijual 75.000 per ekor, terus elang 140.000 sampai 1 juta per ekor. Nah, seperti itu dijual belinya.
Semua itu dikembalikan lagi ke warga setempatnya. Kalau kita punya niatan untuk kebaikan dengan alam, istilah kita ikut menjaga alam ini, ikut bagian dari alam ini, saya kira alam pasti punya cerita sendiri untuk membalas apa yang kita lakukan dengan alam ini. Dan fungsi konservasi ya tadi itu akan membawa dampak positif bagi warga di sekitar itu pasti.
Jadi kalau kita takut berbuat baik sendirian, bahwa kita itu tidak akan pernah benar-benar sendiri. Bahkan orang yang tidak kita kenal pun akan datang membantu kita. Nah, seandainya nggak ada pun, kan masih ada Tuhan sama kita. Asal kita berbuat baik, dasar kita jelas, tidak melanggar undang-undang. Intinya di situ.
Ini negeriku, ini tanah airku. Lihat betapa baiknya Tuhan menciptakan alam semesta ini. Tinggal bagaimana kita sebagai manusia bisa merawat dan menjaganya, agar kelak kita tetap bisa menikmati indahnya
Pesona Indonesia.
The Palestine Red Crescent Society releases footage of its workers loading 2 shrouded bodies into an ambulance. The Indonesian General Election Commission, or KPU, has fixed the dates of the voting day at overseas poll stations. Preparations to celebrate Indonesia's 79th Independence Day in Nusantara Capital City, or IKN, have begun. Hello and welcome to TVRI World's Focus Today, airing live with news from all around the world and home. I'm Audrey Toyo. Now let's begin with our first report. The increasing number of displaced persons flocking to Rafah, Gaza, as well as the high costs and shortages of food items are making it almost impossible to keep up with the demand. Displaced Palestinians in Rafah queue for hours in front of the soup kitchen for a plateful of beans, hoping in vain that this will be enough to quell their hunger. Volunteers say the increasing number of displaced people flocking to Rafah, as well as the high costs and the shortages of food items, are making it almost impossible to keep up with the demand. Before the war, the Rafah food distribution charity operated only twice a week, but they are now operating daily to cook 15 large pots of beans or pasta. But this is still not enough for the hundreds of thousands displaced in Rafah, volunteers say. The Indonesian National Commission of Human Rights, of Komnas HAM, has strongly supported the initiative of South Africa to take Israel to the International Court of Justice, or ICJ, over allegations of genocide in Gaza, Palestine.
National Commission Human Rights, or Komnas HAM, has accepted an urgent appeal from Palestinian National Commission Human Rights at the Asia-Pacific Forum for the National Human Rights Institution, or APF, to support the South African government's initiative. This forum is the National Human Rights Institution coalitions in the Asia-Pacific region. Chairperson of Komnas HAM, Adnike Novasigiro, said on Tuesday, Komnas HAM strongly supported South African legal efforts to bring Israel to the International Court of Justice. over allegation genocide in Gaza, Palestine. The trial process will begin on 11 January 2024. Indonesia cannot formally support ensuing Israel over genocide because the basis of the lawsuit is a genocide convention that Indonesia has not signed nor ratified. However, Komnas HAM has urged the Indonesian government to help South Africa in the International Court of Justice sessions against Israel. The International Court of Justice, also known as the World Court, the main judicial organ of the United Nations to resolve disputes among the countries. It was established in June 1945 by the Charter of the United Nations and began work in April 1946.
In the meantime, the humanitarian organization, the Palestine Red Crescent Society, releases footage of its workers loading two shrouded bodies into an ambulance. Meanwhile, displaced Gazans in Khan Yunis called all states to send aid, open the Rafah border crossing, deliver all the aid in, and end the war.
The Palestinian Red Crescent on Tuesday, January 9th, evacuated two bodies after civilians were shelled in the Maghazi refugee camp in central Gaza, it said on social media platform X. The humanitarian organization released footage of its workers loading two shrouded bodies into an ambulance. The Israeli army on Monday said it bombed an arms cache in central Maghazi, and on Tuesday it said aircraft had hit Hamas fighters in the central Gaza refugee camp. South and central Gaza have been a focus of the offensive by Israel, which on Saturday, January 6, declared Hamas infrastructures in the north dismantled. Meanwhile, since the outbreak of the war in Gaza, 8-year-old Abdel Jabbar Mohammed Al-Farah said he has lost a lot: his home, his neighborhood, and his schooling. Farah and his family fled their home in Al-Manara neighborhood in eastern Khan Yunis after Israeli forces bombed the building. They are asking all states to send aid, open the Rafah border crossing to get all the aid in to end the war, and end this injustice against them. The Israeli offensive has killed more than 23,000 Palestinians, destroyed much of Gaza, and displaced most of the population of 2.3 million at least once, creating a dramatic and worsening humanitarian crisis. Displaced Gazans in Khan Yunis called on Tuesday for U.S. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken to support their return to their homes in the north of the enclave. Blinken, who is on a visit to the region, said on Monday he would tell Israeli officials in their meetings that they must do more to prevent civilian casualties in Gaza. He also said Israel must allow Palestinian civilians to return home after right-wing members of Israel's ruling coalition called for them to move elsewhere.
Now on to our segment on the elections. The General Elections Commission, or KPU, has confirmed that it would no longer change the format of the presidential and vice presidential debates in the 2024 presidential elections.
General Election Commission, or KPU, has made it clear that it would not longer change the format of the presidential debates because all teams of the presidential candidates had agreed with it. President Joko Widodo has earlier called for a change in the debate format because of the existing one has allowed candidates to expose personal issues rather than their programs. However, the KPU chairman Hashim Ashari said on Tuesday that the debate format had been approved with the campaign team of each candidate pairs and the television stations. Hashim further said that KPU has the task to provide forum for each pair of the candidate to show their vision and mission in the debates. However, the strategy and substance of the debates are determined by the candidate pairs with their success teams. In addition, KPU Chairman Hashim Ashari said he would immediately invite candidate team pairs to evaluate the third debate for the 2024 presidential election at Istora Senayan in Jakarta on Sunday, 7 January. Regarding report that campaign team for one of the candidates has approached moderators during the break of the debate, Hashim Ashari responded that all teams will deliver notes to be discussed in the evaluation meeting.
The Indonesian Journalists Association, or PWI, has established a task force to counter hoaxes in the internet, especially in relation to the 2024 general elections. The Indonesian Journalists Association, in cooperation with the Communication and Informatics Ministry, launched a task force in Jakarta on Tuesday. Communications and Informatics Minister Budi Aristiadi handed over a small soccer ball to Task Force Chairman Iqbal Irsyal as a symbol of the launch. PWI Chairman Henry Bangun says the task force establishment is a form of commitment from the journalist group to help the government and the public in combating hoaxes. As Indonesia's largest and oldest journalist organization, the PWI considers that it is important for everyone to fight against hoaxes and disinformation ahead of the elections on February the 14th. The task force will have two main activities, namely monitoring the internet and holding public awareness events about the danger of hoaxes. Minister Budi said in his speech that he welcomed the initiative as PWI had become a collaboration partner of the government to combat negative effects of hoaxes during the elections. The minister extended his appreciation towards the task force as he gave his full support to the movement. He says such an initiative is important to maintain a safe and favorable condition among people ahead of the elections. The General Elections Commission, or the KPU, on Tuesday installed 100 KPU members in 20 Regency cities in 5 provinces throughout Indonesia for the 2024 to 2029 period. The 5 provinces, namely West Sulawesi, North Sulawesi, Bali, Central Java, and South Sumatra. The inauguration took place at KPU headquarters office in Jakarta. Chairman of the KPU, Hashim Ashari, in his address that the KPU is a service institution, so it must be maximized to improve institutional services for voters and election participants. On this occasion, Hashim also urged the 100 members of KPU at Regency cities level who have been installed to be able to work in accordance with provisions of the law and the election code of ethics and to work with honesty. The Indonesian General Elections Commission, or the KPU, has fixed the dates of the voting day at overseas poll stations for the presidential and VP elections, as well as legislative elections that will be held simultaneously in February of 2024.
The Indonesian General Election Commission, or KPU, decree number 1811 on dates of voting day at overseas poll stations, or TPSLN, which was received on Tuesday, January 9th, detailed 8 dates of the voting day for the 2024 general elections overseas. Voting days in various places worldwide are grouped by 8 steps. Hanoi and Ho Chi Minh City in Vietnam will hold voting day on Monday, February 5th. The next day, Panama City in Panama will hold voting day on Tuesday, February 6th. Tehran in Iran will hold voting day on February 8th. Other 11 overseas poll stations, or TPSLN, will hold voting day on February 9th, including Iraq's Baghdad, Kuwait's city of Kuwait, Saudi Arabia's Riyadh, Qatar's Doha, and Sudan's Khartoum. Saturday, February 10th has been set for 70 cities, including Australia's Sydney, US Washington, D.C., France's Paris, Russia's Moscow, Germany's Berlin, and Mexico's City of Mexico. Sunday, February 11th has been fixed for Indonesian citizens in 36 cities, including Japan's Tokyo, Malaysia's Kuala Lumpur, Singapore, Turkey's Istanbul, Thailand's Bangkok, and Greece's Athena. Hong Kong, a China city with the highest population of Indonesians, will hold voting day on Tuesday, February 13. The last date of the voting day abroad will fall on Wednesday, February 14th in 7 cities, namely Madagascar's Antananarivo, Kazakhstan's Astana, China's Beijing, Guangzhou and Shanghai, Taiwan's Taipei, and Papua New Guinea's Vanimo.
You are still watching Focus Today on TVRIWorld. In the meantime, Indonesian President Joko Widodo arrived in Manila on Tuesday night as part of his 5-day tour to some ASEAN countries, which also include Vietnam and Brunei Darussalam.
President Joko Widodo will be in Manila until January 11. Will meet President Ferdinand Bongbong Marcos Jr. to deepen the relationship between two neighboring countries. President Jokowi's visit to Philippines also coincides with the celebration of the 75th anniversary of diplomatic relations between Indonesia and Philippines. Jokowi said Philippines is one of Indonesia's important partners. Meanwhile, in Vietnam, the president will discuss efforts to increase bilateral trade. In the third destination, Brunei Darussalam, President Jokowi accepts the invitation from Brunei Sultan Hassan al-Bolkiah to attend the wedding ceremony of his son, Prince Abdul Mateen. During the visit, Jokowi will also meet the Brunei business leaders to invite them to invest in Indonesia. President Jokowi and his delegation are scheduled to return to Indonesia on January 14.
President Joko Widodo arrived in Manila, the Philippines at about 8:05 p.m. on Tuesday, after a 4-hour flight from Jakarta. The president was welcomed by the Minister of Secretary Cabinet of the Philippines, Carlito Galvez. Today's agenda of the president is a meeting with the Philippine President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. On the second day of his visit to the Philippines, President Joko Widodo had a meeting with President of Philippines Ferdinand Marcos Jr. at the Malacanang Palace, Manila, today. President Jokowi was welcomed with an official reception ceremony before holding a bilateral meeting. Apart from meeting with President Marcos Jr., Jokowi is also scheduled to visit Copico Philippines Corporation located in Calamba. The factory is one of the Indonesian manufacturers in the Philippines. Jokowi and his delegation also visited the W. Hydrocolloids Incorporated factory in Manila. In his visit, the president is accompanied by Foreign Affairs Minister Retno Marsudi, Minister of State-Owned Enterprises Erick Thohir, Presidential Chief of Staff Muldoko, member of the Presidential Advisory Council Gandhi Sulistianto, and Indonesian Ambassador to the Philippines Agus Wijoyo. President Joko Widodo has asked thousands of digital application platforms that are frequently used by ministries and agencies to be simplified and integrated in one application. The president has prohibited the establishment of any additional platforms that may result in extravagant spending on digital infrastructure.
President Joko Widodo has called for the integration of digitalization within his remaining 9-month term in office. Jokowi anticipates expediting the implementation of digital identity to be applied within this year. He asked the Minister of Home Affairs and the Minister of Communications and Informatics to finalize the process within this month. President Jokowi conveyed the message during a plenary cabinet meeting at the State Palace in Jakarta on Tuesday morning. He emphasized the need to capitalize on his remaining term to make significant advancement in digital bureaucratic reform. He requested that a multitude of platforms presently in use across various ministries and institutions be promptly streamlined, with a strict prohibition of any additional application platforms designed solely for project-oriented purposes. Upon attending a plenary cabinet meeting, Minister of State Apparatus Utilization and Bureaucratic Reform Abdullah Azwar Anas said the government is currently engaged in transforming its digital services to enhance public service integration. He added that President Joko Widodo has issued directives to government agencies for effective execution of government technology or GovTech. The President has officially designated INA Digital or Indonesia Digital as the name for GovTech in Indonesia. Minister Azwar assured that successful implementation of GovTech Indonesia will have positive impact on public services. He mentioned Indonesia's digital achievement in the Indonesian Digitalization Index has increased by 30 points from 107 to 77.
Don't go anywhere, for we'll be back after this, after a short break on TVRI World. Stay tuned.
Luwih apa cek sekehe cerita liananira.
Lontar Yusuf is a narrative poem about the life of one of Islam's most popular prophets, Prophet Yusuf.
Lontar itu naskah, dan kebetulan ini banyak orang bilang itu naskah kuno. Sebetulnya awalnya lontar itu ditulis di daun lontar medianya itu. Sekarang teknologi itu semakin canggih hingga disalin ke media kertas.
And you are back on Focus today on TVRI World with me, Audrey Utoyo. Now let's move on to our next report. Preparations to celebrate Indonesia's 79th Independence Day in Nusantara Capital City, or IKN, have begun. Meanwhile, the Ministry of Public Works and Housing has started designing the first immersed tunnel project in Indonesia, located in Nusantara Capital City. Let's take a look.
Secretary of the Ministry of State Secretariat Satya Utama at the Presidential Palace Complex in Jakarta on Tuesday said that all parties are committed to organizing the celebrations of Indonesia's 79th Independence Day in Nusantara Capital City. Satya said that a meeting involving various institutions was held to prepare the celebrations of the Indonesia's 79th Independence Day in IKN this year. Head of Presidential Secretariat Heru Budi Hartono requested the Pancasila Ideology Development Agency to immediately prepare the flag hoisting troops, or Paskibraka, sooner than in previous years. Heru said that there is a possibility of inviting the public in hybrid format. Director General of Highways at the Ministry of Public Works and Housing, Hadi Rahadian, said on Monday that conceptual design of Immerse Tunnel project in Nusantara capital city will begin this year. The Immerse Tunnel in IKN will become one of the long-term projects expected to start its construction in 2025. The construction of the Immerse Tunnel is prepared to be part of Section 4 of the Central Government Core Area, or KIPP toll road. Hadi said that the conceptual design of IKN Immerse Tunnel has undergone environmental impact assessment, or AMDAL, analysis to minimize negative impacts on the surrounding environments.
Vice President Maruf Amin has said that the government's social assistance given to less privileged people is a nationwide state program, which has no connection at all with the 2024 elections. In his official visit to Yogyakarta on Tuesday, Vice President Maruf Amin said that the government gave cash assistance to everyone who is eligible to receive the benefits. Maruf said the government had been channeling the social aid funds to help the less privileged as part of the state program without any relations to the elections. He denied rumors and suspicions that President Joko Widodo's administration provides aid to lure people to vote for certain presidential and vice presidential candidates in the 2024 elections. Maruf said that he had yet to receive any reports that certain groups used the funds to entice people into voting for certain presidential and vice presidential candidates. He urged people to report immediately to authorities if they witness anyone doing such practices. In the meantime, the government is set to dispatch 241,000 people to perform Hajj this year, based on the ratification of the Pilgrims' Affairs Agreement for the year 1445 Hijriah with the government of Saudi Arabia. Indonesian Minister of Religious Affairs Yakut Cholil Kumas and Saudi Arabian Minister of Hajj and Umrah Taufik Al-Rabia signed an agreement in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia on Monday. The agreement was on Hajj pilgrims in 2024, including the Hajj quota for Indonesia. Minister Yakut said that the quota for Indonesian pilgrims this year includes 221,000 regular Hajj and 20,000 additional Hajj quotas at the invitation by the Saudi Arabian king. In addition to this, there are several improvements in pilgrimage services agreed upon in the Talimatul Hajj, or Pilgrims' Affairs. In 2019, Indonesia was given with 231,000 Hajj quota. This declined to 100,000 in 2022 due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Meanwhile, in 2023, Hajj quota for Indonesia was 229,000 pilgrims. The Ministry of Communication and Informatics has issued stern warnings to social media network X, formerly known as Twitter, in light of the proliferation of online gambling advertisements on the platform. In a related development, the police have apprehended 2 social media influencers for promoting online gambling activities.
The Communications and Informatics Ministry issued the warnings to the management of social media network X in response to the public complaints about online gambling ads that were rampant on the platform owned by tech tycoon Elon Musk. In an official letter sent to X, Communications and Informatics Minister Budi Aris Setiadi wrote that the platform should curb down all online gambling ads immediately. Budi said in Jakarta that his ministry would give the same warnings to other social media platforms if it found such ads. Previously, the ministry has warned digital platform Meta due to the presence of online gambling ads on its services, namely Facebook and Instagram. Meantime, the Crime Investigation Unit of the Bogor City Police arrested 2 women in Bogor, West Java for promoting online gambling on their social media accounts. The 2 women are Bogor residents, identified with their initials FA and KA, who are 20 and 22 years old respectively. Bogor City Police Chief Senior Commissioner Bismot Teguh Prakoso says the culprits have tens of thousands of followers on their accounts. They promoted at least 5 online gambling websites on their Instagram stories. Bismo says they will be charged with 10 years imprisonment and fines worth 10 billion rupiah, or equivalent of more than $640,000. The punishment is based on Article 45 of the 2024 Law on Electronic Information and Transaction.
In the meantime, weather agency BMKG has warned people to stay alert against thunderstorms in a number of big cities across Indonesia. The Meteorology, Climatology and Geophysics Agency has asked people to stay alert against thunderstorms, which are predicted to occur in a number of big cities across Indonesia on Wednesday, January the 10th. The alert status for thunderstorms were issued for West Sumatra's Padang, Riau's Pekanbaru, South Sumatra's Palembang, Bangka Island's Pangkal Pinang, Banten Serang, West Nusa Tenggara's Mataram, South Kalimantan's Banjarmasin, South Sulawesi's Makassar, and Southeast Sulawesi's Kendari. The weather agency also warned people who usually have activities in coastal areas to watch out for high waves of up to 4-meter height in several Indonesian waters. The high waves may occur on January the 10th to the 11th. The wind pattern in Indonesia's northern area generally moves from northeast area with 4 to 20 knots of wind speed, while Indonesia's southern area generally sees the wind moving from southwest to northwest with 4 to 20 knots of wind speed. In the meantime, residents in Japan's Anamizu, hit by last week's deadly earthquake, are living in cars as their homes damaged by the tremors are deemed too unsafe. The death toll in Japan's Ishikawa prefecture has risen to 202, with 102 residents still missing, 8 days after a series of earthquakes. Japan's government approved 4.74 billion yen, or $33 million in spending from fiscal reserve to support recovery from the Noto Peninsula earthquake.
The Noto Peninsula in Ishikawa Prefecture witnessed strong tremors, causing over 200 reported deaths and damage to over 1,400 houses, with Anamizu being severely affected. Approximately 40% of Anamizu Machi's central business district homes are considered unsafe. Fearing aftershocks, residents hesitate to stay indoors and spend nights in their cars. Ongoing aftershocks pose risks to rescue and repair efforts, prompting many residents to seek shelter in their vehicles. At least 1,401 houses have been damaged in the prefecture, particularly in the town of Anamizu, while Noto Peninsula has experienced a total of 1,218 felt earthquakes since January 1st. The cold air mass bringing snow is hampering search and rescue efforts, and traffic disruptions are adding challenges to the situation. The local government is working to confirm the status of missing persons. Speaking at a special disaster task force meeting, Fumio Kishida said that all possible measures should be taken in order to support the cash flow of local governments to provide quake relief supplies. The magnitude 7.6 earthquake that rocked Noto in Ishikawa Prefecture on Japan's west coast on New Year's Day killed at least 180 people, making it the deadliest since the 2018 quake in Kumamoto on the southern island of Kyushu. The cold weather has been hampering rescue and relief efforts, with the highest temperature in Wajima City forecast at 6 degrees Celsius or 42.8 Fahrenheit.
Winter storms blanketed parts of central United States, leaving roads, farmlands, and vehicles covered in thick snow. Australian residents are bracing themselves for the next round of flooding as the water level of rivers in the Australian town of Yee remains high after a rainstorm triggered floods ravaged the area. Meanwhile, Russian investigators said they had arrested 3 people over heating outages south of Moscow that have sent regional officials scrambling to restore services and draw scrutiny from the Kremlin.
Snowplows were seen removing snow in Iowa, while the neighborhood's Nebraska cars drove slowly on snow-covered streets. Vast landscapes in Oklahoma were also blanketed in snow. The National Weather Service said it expected the major storm to impact a large portion of the central and southern plains, Midwest, South, and Eastern U.S. through the midweek. Australia has been hit by a consecutive series of heavy rainstorms, which has seen many rivers swelling up in the state of Victoria, with the towns of Yee and Seymour, which sit 100 kilometers to the north of Melbourne, being among the worst affected areas. According to local department, the water level of Goulburn River, one of Victoria's main rivers, was recorded at 5.8 meters. With next flood peak looming, residents who have returned to their homes are now on high alert themselves. Meanwhile, Moscow and the surrounding region have suffered an unusually harsh winter. The temperature in Klimovsk, South Podolsk, was minus 8 degrees Celsius, mild by standard of recent weeks. Authorities blame the breakdown on failures at a boiler plant owned by a private ammunition factory. Investigators said in a statement the heads of the heating plant and the factory were arrested on suspicion of providing unsafe services. The Kremlin said President Vladimir Putin had discussed the situation late with Moscow Regional Governor Andrei Vorobyov and other officials, and titanic efforts were made to resolve the situation. Vorobyov posted a stream of updates on social media and said the boiler plant in question was being taken over by local authorities and would be modernized and restaffed.
European Union's Copernicus Climate Change Service, or 3CS, confirmed 2023 as the hottest year in global temperature records going back to 1850. On average, in 2023, the planet was 1.48 degrees Celsius warmer than the 1850 to 1900 pre-industrial period.
Last year was the planet's hottest on record by a substantial margin and likely the world's warmest in the last 100,000 years, the European Union's Copernicus Climate Change Service, or C3S, said on Tuesday. Scientists had likely expected the milestone after climate records were repeatedly broken. Since June, every month have been the world's hottest on record compared with the corresponding month in the previous years.
Well, it's significant in the sense that, every time we break a record, I think it's significant, and it's one of these milestones towards an ever warmer climate. So we haven't yet reached the 1.5 as defined in the Paris Agreement, because that's an average over 20 years. But this year, as an average over the year of the last 12 months, we got very close to it. So we are at 1.48, which for all intents and purposes is 1.5.
On average, in 2023, the planet was 1.48 degrees Celsius warmer than in the 1850 to 1900 pre-industrial period, when humans began burning fossil fuels on an industrial scale, pumping carbon dioxide into the atmosphere.
In the meantime, tension grips Quito, Ecuador, as an armed group takes over a television station, leading President Daniel Noboa to declare an internal armed conflict.
Since June, every month has been the world's hottest on record compared to the corresponding month of previous years, when checked against paleoclimatic data records from sources such as tree rings and air bubbles in glaciers. European Union's Copernicus Climate Change Service, or C3S Director Carlo Buontempo, said it was very likely the warmest year in the last 100,000 years. C3S confirmed 2023 as the hottest year in the global temperature, records going back to 1850.
Well, it's a combination of factors. So El Niño certainly contributed to it, and possibly other sources of variability. So it's not just climate change, but it would be impossible to explain this peak in global mean temperature without climate change. So climate change has been definitely a driver.
On average, in 2023, the planet was 1.48 degrees Celsius warmer in the 1850 and 1900 pre-industrial period, when humans began burning fossil fuels on an industrial scale, pumping carbon dioxide into the atmosphere.
In the meantime, tension grips Quito, Ecuador, as an armed group takes over a television station, leading President Daniel Noboa to declare an internal armed conflict. Residents describe chaos and nervousness, with shops closing and people rushing to leave. The incident follows the kidnapping of at least 7 police officers and a series of explosions in response to the state of emergency declared. Local residents express fear and describe the city as chaotic, with increased traffic, alarms, and an overall sense of nervousness. The armed takeover and escalating events contribute to a tense and uncertain atmosphere in the Ecuadorian capital. In the meantime, U.S. Secret Service said a vehicle crashed into an exterior gate of the White House complex in Washington before 6 p.m. local time. Meanwhile, in Texas, according to the city's fire department, at least 21 people were injured in an apparent gas leak explosion at the Sandman Hotel in downtown Fort Worth, Texas. At the same time, based on eyewitness video, media reports said authorities gathered at the scene of a shooting in Minnesota where at least 2 people and a suspect were found dead.
U.S. Secret Service Chief of Communication Anthony Guglielmi said a driver was taken into custody as the cause and manner of the incident is still being investigated. The White House did not immediately respond to a request for comment on the incident. A Delaware man was charged last month with drunk driving after he accidentally crashed his vehicle into U.S. President Joe Biden's motorcade. The U.S. Secret Service said there was no protective interest associated with this event. Nobody was killed in the explosion, and authorities was investigating the cause. Video from the scenes showed rubble in the street between 2 buildings and first responders on the scene. Craig Troyachek, a spokesman for the Fort Worth Fire Department, said first responders rescued several people trapped in the basement of the hotel. Of the 21 people injured, one person was in critical condition, while 4 others had serious but not life-threatening injuries, Trojacek said. Meanwhile, others sustained minor injuries. The shooting occurred in a Big Lake Road and Highway 13 area in Cloquet, where police said they lifted a shelter-in-place order after confirming there was no longer an active threat to the area. It was unknown whether there were further injuries.
In the meantime, around 11 a.m. on January the 9th, an Su-22 aircraft crashed in the Bin Ninh Street block while conducting a training flight. Meanwhile, Cathay Pacific Airline conduct more cancellations of flights in Hong Kong.
The aircraft wreckage was spread in a 200-meter radius at the crash site. The pilot avoided residential areas and ejected at a position 19 kilometers south of the runway in Dien Nam Trung Commune, Dien Ban Town, Quang Nam Province, according to the report from the Ministry of Defense. Initial reports indicate property damage, but no human casualties. Presently, authorities are conducting an investigation to determine the root cause of the incident and whether it was mechanical or pilot error. Chief Executive John Lee said that the government is highly concerned about the operation of the city's flagship airline. Cathay Pacific Airways announced the cancellation of at least 21 flights. This is the second day in a row that Hong Kong's flagship carrier has cancelled more than 20 flights. While Cathay Pacific had about 4,000 pilots before the pandemic, there are only roughly 2,500 now. The Hong Kong Air Crew Officers Association said the airline faces a severe shortage of pilots after some 500 were laid off during the pandemic.
White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre said that at a briefing that Americans should feel safe flying in the wake of the recent Boeing 737 MAX 9 incident.
Karine said that a panel last week blew off an Alaska Airlines 737 MAX 9 plane that had left Portland, Oregon, forcing a dramatic emergency landing with a rectangular-sized hole in the aircraft. Karine expresses relief that all passengers and crew are safe and emphasizes that the FAA's priority of ensuring the safety of Americans. In line with this commitment, Karine announces that the specific Boeing aircraft involved in the incident will remain grounded until operators conduct enhanced inspections.
I think the American people should feel safe flying. Like I said, FAA's number one priority is the safety of Americans. I think by the fact that these Boeing aircrafts are going to be grounded is important, right? That is taking the safety of Americans first, and FAA's, that's their main priority, is to making sure that occurred.
Boeing CEO Dave Calhoun told a staff meeting that the plane maker would need to work to earn confidence of airlines and ensure they understand every Boeing plane in the sky is safe. 2 people familiar with the comment said.
Thanks, everybody.
In the meantime, one of India's largest travel platforms suspended flight bookings to the tourism-dependent Maldives after disparaging social media posts against India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi embittered relations between the South Asian neighbors. India and Russia sent the largest number of visitors to the Maldives, a chain of sun-kissed islands in the Indian Ocean that is home to many luxury resorts. Ease My Trip co-founder and executive director Prashant Piti said bookings to the Maldives were suspended indefinitely. Piti said Ease My Trip is the second largest online travel booking platform in India with a 22% market share, and his company will promote Lakshadweep over any foreign location, even though they might witness a temporary dip in international tourism. Many Indians, including some celebrities, shared local social media posts promoting domestic destinations over the Maldives. Don't go anywhere, for we'll be back with more news from home and around the world after a short break. Stay tuned.
Hi,
I'm Devini Hermawan. I will tell you why you should taste gado-gado as one of the most iconic Indonesian cuisine. So, just like any other salad with dressing, the dressing itself takes the major part to make gado-gado really delicious. Here it is, rendang. So just put, this is the white pepper, shallots in, as well as the beef. This is our rendang. Now we can assemble them into a beautiful bowl of soto ayam Lamongan. A simple but special perkedel kentang. The flavor is really intense.
Indonesian flavor with Chef Devina every Saturday, 5:30 p.m. Western Indonesia time.
That's all for today's edition. Indonesia has different culinary flavors and I will be back with another authentic menu. See you and goodbye.
Namely Bangsering Underwater, which is a coral reef-based ecotourism. This tourism object presents an underwater natural attraction in the form of coral reefs that grows naturally and artificially. Stay tuned for today's journey of potential land.
And welcome back to TVRI World's Focus today with me, Audrey Utoyo. Now let's move on to our next report. Renowned Chinese conductor Chao Peng, aged 99, along with his daughter Chao Xiaoxia, a philanthropist, have devoted the past 15 years to using music as a tool to stimulate the minds of children with autism. On December the 23rd, 2023, a day after celebrating his 99th birthday, Chao Peng participated in a special event featuring a concert of their talents in various artistic expressions. The project originated in 2008 after Chao Peng read an article on using music as a therapeutic approach for autism. Costumes, props, and sets from the popular Netflix series The Crown are set to go on public display in London before heading to auction.
Over 450 items from the show, spanning all 6 seasons, will be showcased at Bonham from January 11th to February 8th. The exhibit precedes the Crown auction scheduled for February 7th. Items include costumes worn by lead characters such as Claire Foy, Olivia Colman, and Imelda Staunton, who portray Queen Elizabeth II at different stages.
So lots in the sale are from all 6 seasons, and they really capture all of the characters. I mean, the Queen, of course, is the focus. So Claire Foy, Olivia Colman, and Imelda Staunton, their costumes, their props, the set decorations, the decorative works of art that we're so familiar seeing them with feature very heavily in the sale. But the sale features all of the main characters from all 6 seasons. And it's a real celebration. I mean, it's a real love letter to the show.
Highlights includes replicas of the Queen's coronation ordaining dress and the gold state coach, which proceeds going toward a scholarship program at the National Film and Television School.
Malaysian King and Queen grace Parade of Thanks held in conjunction with End of Reign on January the 30th.
Malaysian King, the Yang di-Pertuan Agong Al-Sultan Abdullah Riayatuddin Al-Mustafa Billah Shah, and Queen Raja Permaisuri Agong Tunku Aziza Aminah Maimunah Iskandaria graced the Parade of Thanks on Monday, held in conjunction with the end of Al-Sultan Abdullah's reign as the 16th Supreme Leader on the 30th of January. The ceremony involved 40 officers and 888 members of various ranks from the 3 branches of the Armed Forces, or MAF, namely the Army, Royal Malaysian Navy, and Royal Malaysian Air Force. A special performance by personnel from various ranks involving the Army's drumline and brass band also enlivened the ceremony. Malaysia's next and 17th king will be the Sultan of Johor, Sultan Ibrahim Sultan Iskandar, who will ascend to the throne on the 31st of January for the 5-year term.
In the meantime, the Majlis Istiadat membuka gendang jaga-jaga for the royal wedding of the son of His Majesty Sultan Haji Hassanal Bolkiah Muizzaddin Wadaullah, the Sultan and Yang di-Pertuan of Brunei Darussalam, His Royal Highness Prince Abdul Mateen, and Yang Mulia Dayang Anisha Rosna binti Adam.
The ceremony was conducted in the presence of His Royal Highness Prince Haji Al-Muhtadi Billah, Ibni His Majesty Sultan Haji Hassanal Bolkiah Muizzaddin Wadaullah, the Crown Prince, as His Majesty the Sultan and the di-Pertuan of Brunei Darussalam's representative. The ceremony commenced with the Yang Berhormat Datuk Sri Setia Haji Awang Adanan informing Yang Amat Mulia Pangeran Indra Setia Diraja Sahibul Karib that the Majlis Istiadat membuka gendang jaga-jaga was in place to proceed. His Royal Highness the Crown Prince made the sabda for the ceremony to commence. Ketua Jurulaki proceeded to the patarana or royal dais from the left-hand side to lift the nakara and bore it upon his head. Ketua Jurulaki then walked to the designated place and placed the nakara in between two gendang labik. The nakara was then beaten rhythmically, followed by the beating of the gendang labik and playing of the serunai. Ketua Jurulaki then bore the nakara on his head, returning it to the original position at the patarana. Meanwhile, the other court musicians left the ceremony. Yang Berhormat Pehin Orang Kaya Johan Pahlawan informed Yang Amat Mulia Pangeran Indra Setia Diraja Sahibul Karib that the Majlis Istiadat membuka gendang jaga-jaga had been duly carried out. Yang Amat Mulia Pangeran Indra Setia Diraja Sahibul Karib in turn informed His Royal Highness the Crown Prince that the ceremony had been duly carried out. His Royal Highness the Crown Prince then delivered a sabda before finally departing the ceremony with members of the royal family.
The world's largest travel site, TripAdvisor, has revealed that its Traveler's Choice Best of the Best 2023 honors Hoi, an ancient city, and HTM City in its trending destinations category. TripAdvisor has revealed that its Traveler's Choice Best of the Best 2023 honors Hoi, an ancient city, and HTM City in its trending destinations category. Accordingly, the UNESCO Heritage Site of Hoi, an ancient city, is ranked second, and HTM City 11th in the list of 25 trending destinations in the world. Traveler's Choice Best of the Best is an annual award by TripAdvisor. The award is meant to be given to destinations which hotels, restaurants, and things to do received a high volume of above and beyond reviews and opinions from the community over a 12-month period. Fewer than 1% of TripAdvisor's 8 million listings are awarded Best of the Best, signifying the highest level of excellence in travel. And that is it for today's edition of Focus Today. I'm Audrey Utoyo. Thank you so much for watching, and goodbye.
dipandu ibuku, Indonesia kebangsaanku, bangsa dan tanah airku. Marilah kita bersatu, Indonesia bersatu. Hiduplah tanahku, hiduplah negeriku, bangsaku, rakyatku semuanya. Bangunlah jiwanya, bangunlah badannya, untuk Indonesia Raya. Indonesia Raya, merdeka, merdeka, tanahku, negeriku yang tercinta. Indonesia Raya, merdeka, merdeka, hiduplah Indonesia Raya. Indonesia Raya, merdeka, merdeka, tanahku, negeriku yang tercinta. Indonesia Raya, merdeka, merdeka, hiduplah Indonesia Raya. Hiduplah Indonesia Raya.
Welcome to this edition of Taste and Culture, and we're visiting the beautiful Yogyakarta. We are at the center of Javanese traditional culture and heritage that strives along modernization of its surroundings. The land where arts blossom and progress in harmony with traditional values that are still a major part of the locals here. To start this trip, I'm going to Malioboro Street, where now it's introducing a more fresh look.
This street that we're currently walking on is called Malioboro Street, or as the local calls it, Jalan Malioboro. This place holds an imaginary line from the north of the Sultanate Palace to the south of Mount Merapi, and that's very important to the people around here. And as you can imagine, Jalan Malioboro used to have tenants on the left and right side of this street. But as you can see, it's really clean and organized now. That's amazing, right? So the government moved all the tenants to another place, so this place can be really organized and clean, and it won't be as hectic as it used to be before. And I'm so excited to explore this because Jalan Malioboro is one of the most famous tourist destination in all of Yogyakarta.
Malioboro Street officially has been pimped and revitalized for more public use. And I'm thinking of going for a stroll around town in style. Or classic style if you prefer.
Nah Pak, tadi kan ada ini ya, apa plat nomornya?
Ada plat
Itu beneran Pak plat nomornya?
Benar, itu yang dari Dinas Perhubungan.
Oh gitu?
Iya, ada di sub itu. Itu masa berlakunya 3 tahun, ini 2023 besok habis.
Terus harus diperpanjang juga gitu?
Iya, besok perpanjang secara kolektif.
Okay, so turns out that if they didn't bring their license or registration, the organization will actually stop them and they will have to go home if they didn't bring the license or registration, or even as simple as the little hats, the blankon, and the traditional outfits that they wear. If they're not using that, they're not allowed to like take the horse carriage out. They have to go home. Wow, that's so cool. But like seeing everyone with their traditional outfits makes it more, I don't know, traditional and cultural.
And there are rules about it too. That is a way to preserve good heritage. And the most important thing is the workshop that do this service, I believe, is for the commitment to keep crafting for horse carriages is
Get ready for one of the best. One of the underwater world's wonders. Paradise for sea life. A feast for the eyes of even the most experienced. A garden for the locals.